Everton put every ounce they had into a winning effort. They were twice the team they'd been in the first half. That speedy left winger, Derek Temple, had a great chance and made no mistake. Victory to Everton and the cup, presented by Princess Margaret. What more fitting now than the roar of Wembley to end this day?
Well, Derek, lovely to see you. You're looking well.
Thank you, Rob.
It's 70 years since you joined the Toffees, all the way back in 1954. Although that wasn't your very first experience of Goodison. We were chatting how you were a sort of a schoolboy footballer and actually first got a taste of Goodison and that place across the park in schoolboy competitions. What can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it was 1954, and funnily enough, it was the time when Everton got promoted from the second division that season. And we won, Liverpool Schoolboys, played for Liverpool Schoolboys, and we won the equivalent of the FA Cup for schoolboys. It was all over Britain, and we managed to get to the final and beat Southampton 8-1. On aggregate, because it was two games played at Southampton and at Liverpool Goodison, I think it was, when we played the second leg, and we won at Southampton 4-0 and 4-1 at Goodison, so 8-1 on aggregate. And
a little bird told me that a free scoring centre forward got a good share of the goals.
Yeah, that was that was myself. I was quite prolific goal scorer as a schoolboy, and out of the 8 goals, we won 8-1 on aggregates. Out of the 8, I scored 5. I think I got a hat-trick at Southampton and 2 at Goodison.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people who remember you from Everton in the 60s think of you as a sort of a wide forward, even a winger, but actually, as a youngster, you were very much a number 9, a centre forward, coming through.
Yeah, as a schoolboy, I mean, I was always very quick, and schoolboy football, of course, there was schoolmasters who were the trainers for the schoolboys with no real history in the game. So there was no technical information being passed to their defenders about me or anything, and you get a big centre-half schoolboy who would still try and lift you if he could, but once you shoved it past him, which I did, and used my pace, and I could finish. I used to go through goalkeeper to beat, bang, goal. That's what the way it started.
That's what you did. And clearly all this scoring at a young age attracted the attention of both Liverpool and Everton. I'm glad to say you made the correct choice.
Yes.
And came to Goodison on the ground staff in 1954. What was your impressions, turning up on Goodison Road, knocking on the door and sort of going in for the first time and really sort of taking in that sort of great stadium?
Yeah, it was. Well, I'd played there. Obviously, I'd never been to a football match, either Everton or Liverpool, so I had no real affinity. But I did sign for Everton as a schoolboy. Don't ask me why. I mean, Liverpool offered me more money. It was a strange thing. It was the right decision, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, things turned out great.
Yeah.
But no, it's strange that I'd never been to either ground as a spectator. But when I went on the ground staff, I used to cycle up to the ground from Dovecote and work on the ground, and then train in the evenings, Tuesday and Thursday evenings, and play on Saturday we had about 6 teams, I think,
wow.
And in one of the junior teams play, and just that was the grounding then.
And at that point in the mid-50s, you when you were training, that would have been on that training pitch sort of behind the park end near the Bullens that's no longer there?
Yes, well, that was just used... we had Belfield, but it was old-fashioned Belfield those days. It used to belong to the Co-op, I believe.
At one point, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
And it was just like a little wooden pavilion with verandas going round it. And I can remember it very well because of playing it there, and I broke my wrist playing in a junior game there. And that was probably the first serious injury I had, but got over that, of course. It didn't affect my playing really.
Clearly not.
But it was... I don't really know why I selected Everton. As I say, I think I know I made the right choice. I know I made the right choice as things turned out, especially.
I think we can agree on that.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. So you were on the ground staff, so that's just taking care of doing bits of work around the ground, sweeping up.
I did, yeah. I served my time on the sweeping brush, brushing the ground and looking in the toilets. If you went in the cubicles in the gents and went and stood on the basin and put your hand in the cistern up high up, you'd very often pick a wallet out, or maybe two. There's a lot of pickpockets about, and they used to take the money out and go in the toilet and
destroy the evidence. Well, almost.
Yeah. Well,
destroy
yes,
the evidence.
So that was interesting, and then Ted Story and Alan, his son, took over eventually from Ted. Very old-fashioned gentleman, but nice man, but authoritarian.
And they looked after they were in charge of the ground.
Yes,
pitch and
that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, and so it was. I became the can lad. I was making the tea, and I had to shout as loud as I could, "Tea up!" To all converge. Under Bullens Road, there was a little tiny room under the stand. And all the ground staff got in there, and all the tea was poured.
You'd make a brew.
Break. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously, a lot of the ground is still familiar to people. We still have the Bullens and the Gladys Street. They were there,
yes.
When you were coming through. But the Goodison Road stand, the old Archibald Leach stand, no longer there. But that was where the changing rooms were, and I think there was even like a games room for the players, wasn't there?
That's right, yes. There was what we call a billiard room. Mm-hmm. There was a spiral staircase. You have to do that. Spiral staircase, a metal one. And you went up, and on the first floor was a dining room where the players had lunch after training. And then there was another door off which led into the billiard room. 2 tables in there. And I'd never played snooker in my life, and so I wouldn't have made a living at it, that's for sure. But it was a relaxation, yeah.
Absolutely. So, as you said, 1954 was the year that Everton came back up from the second division. But that was an ageing team. You had your Tommy Edlingtons, Peter Farrells, Eddie Wainwrights, Nobby Fielding, Cirillello. These are guys all in... Yes. Well into their 30s, so an ageing team under Cliff Britton. Did you mix with them much, or as a youngster were you very much sort of training away from that?
No, I didn't mix with the first team. They would say hello to you, but Cliff Britton was... he didn't see much of Cliff at all. He when we trained on the Tuesday and Thursday night, it would be generally under Gladys Street stand.
Okay. And
they had balls suspended on rope and string from the girders. And you were running around jumping and heading the ball. And in the corner, in the shadow, you'd see this figure with a trilby on. And it was Cliff Britton. He used to come in and be watching everything that was going on.
Yeah. A few words, but he was there.
He didn't say anything at all, no.
Absolutely. So, obviously, you're this young, promising centre forward. Your first team debut comes along still at a pretty young age. Can you remember that sort of breakthrough, being told that you were going to be selected, and those first kicks of a ball you got for the first team?
Yes. Well, we were talking about Cliff Britton, but then they got. I don't ever remember Cliff being sacked or whether he retired.
He fell out. He fell out with the board.
Yes.
He walked away.
Yes, yes. I wasn't really aware of all that had gone on there, but we got a chap in named Ian Buchan,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a very, very nice man. Ian. He was a physical education lecturer at Loughborough College.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't really say you're going to make a football manager, but he got us fit. He built a gym in the corner of the Gladys Street stand, under the stand, at the far corner at the end of Bullens Road.
Yes.
So it was in that corner, and it was very up to date, all the latest attachments, especially weights, and I was only young, so I looked great. I was strong, fit. But the likes of Nobby Fielding, I remember Nobby. This is when Cliff Britton had gone, and Ian was manager. And I remember Nobby. He was lifting a weight, and he said, "It's knocking years off my career." He said this, and he was 36 then. But. He got us. He did get us fit, and we were top of the league for I think up till about the Christmas that first season of his. But then things started going wrong, and he didn't have a clue really of what to do. I don't think
He didn't have
a shame.
Didn't have the football background.
No,
but he had the.
No, he played for. Is it Queen's Park in Scotland?
He played at Hampton in Scotland.
Yeah, and he. But a very, very nice man. He gave me my debut against Newcastle, 1957, and the likes of Jimmy Gould and a lot of the other players. They weren't the players then, and they'd all moved on. The players that we mentioned earlier: Peter Farrell, Tommy Eblington, Eric Moore. Jock Lindsay. Jock was a nice fella, the Scotsman. He broke his leg. They were all great fellas, but of course they passed on, and then we started getting a younger element in. And as I say, Ian had us going well at Christmas, but then it all fell apart, and unfortunately he got the sack. But he did give me my debut, and he said to me, "You'll play for England." And I did. He was right. I played once. So he was right.
England.
He was
absolutely.
right. But I did play once for England against West Germany, and we beat them in West Germany, so it wasn't a bad debut.
This is Jones. He's got Temple there with him. This is Temple. Script back, yes, to Payne. He scored a lovely goal. Scored by Payne with 9 minutes to go before half-time. England have taken the lead. And there we are, one or two England supporters.
But anyway, Ian, unfortunately, he was a terrible driver. And I remember playing for England under 20s, I think it was, at Chelsea. And Ian drove down there with his wife, and he said, "I'll bring you back." I think we had a game the following day or so, I'm not sure.
Right.
But I said, "Okay, boss," I said, "There's two lads here asked me if you could give them a lift," and it was Wilf McGuinness. And for the life of me, I can't think. I don't know whether it was Jimmy Mealia, I'm not sure. I wouldn't swear to that. But anyway, coming back, we crashed twice. He was a terrible driver. The lovely car was an Austin, big Austin, and it was brand new. He took the front off it, and we managed to get back anyway, and his wife wasn't very pleased with him. For Pete's sake, Ian, that's all you could hear. Because he used to drive. He'd come down a hill and there's traffic lights at the bottom, and they'd be on green. Well, you know, you're travelling and you can see like it's a few hundred yards. You think, well, they're going to be changed. But he put down as though there was no traffic lights. Oh dear, he hit something on there. Then he tried to overtake a coal lorry in Birkenhead, realised there wasn't enough room and pulled back in and hit the back of the coal lorry. So he was, I thought he was a lovely man, bad driver, not particularly a good coach, and unfortunately he was killed.
He had an car
after a Scotch corner driving. As I say, I was very sad about it. It wasn't unexpected, really, because when he got the sack from Everton, John Morrissey took him on in Littlewoods, working as like I think he got a good job as like an area rep, and it meant a lot of driving round. But poor Ian, and I was very sad about it. He's a very nice man. I wish things had been gone better for him.
Bless him. We actually had his daughter came down to a game last season,
right.
the draw with Spurs, so it's lovely for her too. She hadn't been there since she was probably 3 years old, so that was nice.
Yeah.
So obviously you were a young lad, a local lad coming through. Not many youngsters fulfil their potential at Everton, local lads in particular. It's a tough crowd, isn't it, at Goodison? Just as you could say that at any probably top flight club, but I think Goodison has its own challenges. How did you cope with that pressure and probably the brickbats that you'd have got now and again?
Got some of those. Football being what it is, and the fans being so loyal to the club, they only want the best, don't they? And they seem to give. If you'd spent a lot of money on a player, it seemed that he got more time to settle in, unlike a local player. And this didn't apply just to Everton, this was in football generally, because I can remember players at Liverpool getting terrible stick, local players, and they were decent players, I won't name names, but so I did get some stick, but I won them over. You have to just keep going. But it doesn't help because you sometimes you think they're waiting for you to make a mistake.
Yeah.
But I gradually got them on my side, or most of them anyway.
Yeah.
It was always going to be the Jimmy Tansey, when he played, we trained on a Friday morning at Goodison and did laps round just limbering down really. Went round the ground on the track, and he used to go along Bullen's Road, which is quite the spectators were close there to the track than anywhere else, the robot. And he used to go along there, and he used to be so his grenade, and then running along training. Because they gave him some stick.
He was one of the whipping boys, was he?
A lovely fellow, Jimmy. Just that touch slow turning, and he got,
They're not slow coming forward with feedback. Let's put it that way. Aye. Well, I'm glad you came through it. Not everybody does. It takes some strength of character.
No, that's right. It's it's one of those things. Sometimes things are planned for you, I think.
Yeah. Now, talking of things being planned for you, obviously you were taken away on national service, had a year or two in Kenya, which interrupted your career. It's hard to imagine now, thinking of players just losing 2 years of their careers, but you did. You sort of come back, and by the time you've come back, as we're getting towards the dawn of the 60s, and things are changing at Everton.
It was just the early 60s. Aye.
John Moores was starting to flex his financial muscle.
Yes.
So how did you sort of adjust to getting back into football and trying to get your way back into a team where suddenly there were these sort of big money buys starting to come in? Your Bobby Collins, and then Alec Parker, and then And then suddenly in 1960 it's your Tommy Rings, Roy Verdon's, Jimmy Gabriel's. So
right.
how did you sort of get yourself back in there and sort of fight your way back into contention?
Well, I always say that the army, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. It taught me an awful lot, and then one was discipline, really. You know, I mean, it was a good learning experience, but the 2 years was 2 years out of, it was like 2 years out of my life of football. I did play occasionally, because I'll tell you a story about the army. When I went down for my medical in Liverpool, I passed the medical, and they don't tell you you passed, or anything. They just examine you cough and all this sort of thing, you know. Go outside into the corridor, and there's tables set out with all these ex-army officers in their Crombie overcoats, and all very smart, all sat at these tables. And I came out, outside the door was this table with an ex-army officer, and he had his cap in uniform. He had his cap on the table, bald head, and he said, as I walked back, "Temple." I said, "Yes." "I believe you play football." I said, "Well, yes, a lot of people think that." So he said, "Well, sit down," he said, "and let's have a chat." He said, What I've got to suggest is, why don't you join our regiment?" He said. "We train at Harrington Barracks in Formby." He said, "and you'll be there for all your training. You can come home and play your football. It won't affect your career at all." So I said, "Oh, that sounds all right." He said, "Yes." He said, "Good regiment." So I said, "Oh, fine." So I said, I'll join your regiment." It was the King's Liverpool Regiment, and he said, "Now don't get your beard, your football career will just carry on." Well, a few months later I was on a troop ship heading for Kenya at the end of the Mau Mau. And I've always said to people, the moral of the story is never trust an ex-army officer. But it was an experience that, because unfortunately I did get to I trained at Harrington Barracks in the winter, because it was sort of December when I went in, and there was snow on the ground. You had to go lie in the snow and on the rifle range, and freezing cold, you know, and get up in the morning, no hot water to get a wash, just cold water, and so yeah. Anyway, but it was, I think national service never did anybody any harm if you behaved yourself, you know. I mean, a lot of people tried to crick over the traces because it was a Liverpool regiment. I had, on the troop ship, we all had a locker, and my locker had a padlock on like everybody else's, but my locker was broken into. I became a PTI, by the way, so I was training people on the ship, just fitness, really. And I went down to my locker, and the padlock had been snapped off, and my wallet and camera had gone. Right. They were mates in the army. All the Liverpool lads, you know. And I had to box. I was a PTI, so I had to box because it was a boxing regiment. It wasn't a football regiment. The King's Liverpool were well known for having decent boxers. There was a boxer, don't really remember him, you might remember him, Mike, Alf Matthews, he was a good boxer in Liverpool. He was in the regiment at the time, and he was coaching us, and I only had one fight, and that was enough, you know. I fought a fellow called Popeye, who was built like Popeye with tattoos all over his arm, and they put me in with him, and oh dear, they beat him on points, but I was like this, and he's pointing, and he's sitting on top of the head, and I'm going dizzy, and I thought, oh, I better get out of there. So I stood on a few little jabs, and wasn't hurting at all, but anyway, I won on points.
You retired undefeated?
I retired undefeated, and that was it. I was out of it. I admire these boxers because they really work hard.
So we're saying everything is being transformed as once you're back, you're starting to get these big money buys. You've got to fight your way into the team, but also could you see that this was a team or a club's really starting to go places after those fallow years in the 50s? Did you get a feeling that this was big time?
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, Harry Catrick, the manager, he would disappear from training, and we always had this thing with Harry that if he turned up in a tracksuit, it was going to be either Press there or John Morrissey, or, you know. Yeah. So we knew what was happening when Harry turned up in his tracksuit and his trainers, which were immaculate, you know. They were. But I was disappointed in him once because I was predominantly right-footed, although I could score goal. I scored a lot of goals with my left foot. I could use both, but my right foot was my favourite. And I wasn't. Joe Royal always tells me, he said, "You weren't." I said, "I was a winger." He said, "No, you weren't." He said, "You were a goal-scoring forward." Which I said, "Okay, Joe, I'll accept that." Which he was right, actually. Because crossing the ball with my left foot wasn't my greatest thing I could do, you know. So you wouldn't get me like Scotty with his right-footed chip great balls in, and I'd be knocking them in. You know, I knew he was a great crossing the ball, but no, centre forward didn't get many good crosses off me off with my left foot. Yeah. Well, we were at Belfield, and John Morrissey's there, and his little trilby,
yes,
and his Fairline boots, and his overcoat, and Harry Catrick shouted, "Derek, Mr. John wants a word with you." So I said, "Okay," came across. And he started coaching me on how to cross the ball with my left foot. Honestly. John Morrissey in his Fairline boots and his...
Well, I hope it transformed your game, Derek. You know, I hope
it didn't. No, I wasn't very happy with Harry.
I can imagine. He wasn't going to protest.
He was frightened to death of him.
Well, he was the owner, wasn't he? Yeah. You know, yeah. I think everybody was.
And he was ruthless.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was all right as a person, but you know, a millionaire doesn't become a millionaire by.
Not by accident.
No,
absolutely.
A nice guy, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
So, obviously, 1962-63, the title comes back to Goodison Park. The first time Everton have won the league since just before the Second World War. Sadly for you, you had knee trouble, didn't you? So you were in hospital and on the sidelines for much of that campaign.
Yeah. Can I just go back a little bit, Rob, to when I was at training at Harrington Barracks before I went to Kenya. Mm-hmm. I could get the train from Freshfield to Exchange Station and get the bus home to Dovecote, which I used to do because you get the weekend. They say you can have a weekend off. And I remember coming into Exchange Station and there were placards, Man United, air crash.
Right, yes.
And that was February the 6th, wasn't it, in 1958. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, what's gone on there? And anyway, it was that big crash. Now, that was 58, February. In the September, I think it was, we played United at Goodison. That team that crashed, we played them at Goodison. And it was a cracking game. And we were 3-1 down at half-time. I'd managed to notch one. They'd notched three. And they were all over us, you know, they were a good side. And coming off of the half-time, I thought it was either Kenny Ray or Mick Megan. They said, "Hey, Nat." Nat was my nickname, and it wasn't. I used to think they thought it was Nat Lofthouse, but it wasn't that. It was Nat Temple. There was a big band leader, popular band leader at the time, and so it was him, not Lofthouse. But anyway, they said, "Hey Nat, we're going to get hammered." Yeah, I said, "It looks like it. Come on, we'll have to have a go when we come out." So we came out second half, and Jimmy Harris, I think, scored, made it 3-2, and then just near the end, I played a 1-2 with Dave in the box, and Dave was a good footballer actually. People think he was just a big
Dave
strong, yeah, but he could play. And he laid this ball off lovely for me, and I stuck it in the corner, 3-3, and that was the result. We got a 3-3 draw, which would be very fortunate. But that team, it was sad really, because I was very upset when I saw what had happened, because they were all terrific footballers, and they would have ruled the roost for a long time, you know, in our game.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's one of my memories. I was talking about this to the Liverpool Echo on this podcast. About Goodison. You know, because
that game,
Goodison, and it was a full 70,000.
Yeah.
You know,
packed in. Yeah. So, 1962-63 was the year, the season that the title came back to Goodison Park.
Yes.
First time since the war. A great team. Sadly for yourself, you missed a large part of that with injury, but you were back just in time for the title run-in. What are your memories of that team and that sort of the ending to that great season?
Well, I, as you say, I missed most of the season with injury. I did turned an ankle over in pre-season, which led eventually to knee trouble. When I went over on my ankle, I think I opened up the cartilage, or so, split the cartilage, but eventually it was found and operated on. It put me out for more or less the season, so I played one game near the end, didn't do anything, was left out for the next couple of games, but I played the last 4 games, so I played 5 games that season. And the players we had playing then, see, Harry Catchick was, he would go up to Scotland. This is when he disappeared. He'd go up to Scotland and come back with the player, just stick him in the team. And you know, he knew what he was doing, because they were good players, you know, like Jimmy Gabriel, you know, only 19 when he bought him. Just put him in. He was
Alex Scott, of course, halfway through that season.
Alex Young, you know, Alex wasn't Harry's son.
He was a Johnny Carey son, wasn't he?
Yes,
yeah.
But wonderful footballer, Alex, and tremendous header of a ball for a fella. You know, he's only my height. His timing was great, and his with the ball, you know, he'd take the mickey out of you a bit, but he could play and score goals. Yeah, you know, there was Roy Vernon, tremendous Roy. You know, I mean, you go through. They could all play in their own way. You know, Roy was a tremendous goal scorer. I only ever saw him miss 1 penalty, I think. Cool. Nothing fazed him. Didn't look like an athlete. Certainly didn't live like one, but good bloke, character, and the players that Harry brought in really fitted in, and he got them playing. Used to say to us, "You're going out there with a point. I don't want you coming back with less than a point." You know, so it was a draw or win.
A win at home, preferably. Yeah.
2
of maybe the unsung heroes in that side were Mick Negan and Dennis Stevens, and they became great friends of yours.
Yes.
Over the years, what can you tell me about that pair as players and friends?
Yeah, Mick Megan was a real top class footballer. Wasn't the quickest, and I always maintain, and I still do, that if you could do it, you need, if you want to really be top, you've got to have pace. And Mick, wonderful footballer, but just lacked that pace. If you were in trouble, if you were on the field, you kept players around you, he'd suddenly appear in a space where now
give it to me.
Give him the ball.
Yeah,
give him the ball. And he was much appreciated by all the top players. He was a tremendous footballer. Now, who's the other one?
Dennis.
Well, little Dennis. Now, Dennis was unlucky really, because to my mind he came to Everton and he followed on from the best player I played with, which was Bobby Collins. Bobby Collins was a tremendous player. He had size 4 boots like that.
Yeah.
Which could kick people, and he did kick people. He was a bit nasty.
Yeah.
Nasty, but what a player.
My dad worshipped him. Said he was a brilliant player.
He was tremendous. Best player I ever played with. Not the nicest individual.
He had the streak that made him special.
He was a bit vicious.
So Dennis had to follow on from that.
And Dennis followed on from that. So of course he's starting at the bottom of the pile, if you like. But in his own right, he was another like Bobby. He wasn't the same temperament, not fiery, but he would win the ball for you. He was no lost causes. When he first brought him in, we played 5-a-sides, and he was running, and he'd go back and save a goal. This was in 5-a-sides, and he was just wanted to be in the thick of it. And I thought Dennis, he was an awfully nice fella. As I say, Bobby wasn't, but Dennis was. He became a very good friend and respected by all the players, because he was a good guy.
And you can get that, can't you? Sometimes you get players who aren't fans' favourites, even get stick from the fans, but the teammates appreciate what they bring to the team.
Players.
Yeah.
Yes. He was a player's player, because as I say, he did no lost causes. If somebody, I remember him blocking Ronnie Moran at Goodison. Ronnie Moran was coming through, and he used to bang them, with the left foot. And Dennis came across and blocked him. And as Ronnie Moran kicked it, he blocked the ball, and Ronnie Moran did a somersault over him, and gets up, crowding, always there. And Dennis just trots away,
Yeah, brave.
He was great.
Good player.
Yeah.
And that season culminated with that 4-1 defeat of Fulham at Goodison. Roy Vernon, who we talked about before, grabbed the hat-trick, and Everton are champions again, doing the lap of honour.
Yes.
Sadly for you, you didn't get a medal, did you, at the time, because of the qualification rules?
No, you had to play a minimum of 12 games, and I only played 5. So I missed out. Now, I missed out at that time, but through the good graces of the Heritage Society at Everton, who were very, very kind to me, they got me a championship medal for 62.
I think this isn't it, the medal? So I think Everton, as you say, with the Everton FC Heritage Society, got you that, and it's a thing of beauty, and well deserved, because I think now you can play 30 minutes and qualify for a medal these days. So so it's well deserved. One thing that football probably brought for you was travel. I know you obviously did your military service, but football took you to the USA. I think, in fact, you had to change your marriage date because of
that's right, because
of Everton going on tour to the States in '61.
Yes.
But then in '64 you did Australia. I mean, must have been a heck of a tour, going all that way. 6 weeks, was it? You were away in Australia.
8 weeks, I think. I think it was 8 weeks. I'm not sure about that, Rob, but I think it was 8 weeks, and you're probably right.
You were there.
No, I'm not sure.
And I think Dennis, your friend Dennis Stevens, he took a home movie camera and actually captured a bit of footage. I think we've got a bit here, just of the boys at the airport. Dennis and George Heslop round the bone, Mick Megan there.
Oh, there's Mick
on the left.
Yes.
I mean, it's a heck of a lot of time to spend together. Did you get on well as a group?
Oh yes, yeah. There was no problem. There was no cliques, you know. Everybody mixed in. I mean, we had our own particular friends, you know, which you would always gravitate to.
Yes.
But everybody got on. Yeah. So no problems. And Australia was. It was a great tour because we won all our games. I doubt whether you could go there now. It's come on a lot, I think, Australian football. But I don't think you could do that now going there. But we certainly did it. And lot of ex-players there. You know, we played against. I played centre forward in a few games there. I played against Matt Woods.
Your former Everton clubmate,
yes,
centre half.
Yes,
Yeah.
Big Matt said to me, "I've got the iodine on my studs," he said.
Ready to rake down your shins.
Yeah. I said, if you catch me, Matt.
Yeah, I'm sure you were too quick for Matt. Fast forward a couple of years, 1966, and another medal we have here, of course, is from the FA Cup final. Probably, would you say that was your most memorable match, the FA Cup final, when, of course, you scored the crucial deciding goal?
Oh yes, I would say it is. Yeah, certainly the one I do remember vividly. Really, I can still remember things happening on the pitch there, and it's going. How many years is it?
We're talking coming up to 60 years ago, 58 years ago.
Coming up to 60 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's that was. We were favourites. We'd already beaten Sheffield Wednesday handsomely. I forget what score, but it was quite a high score. And so when we went out there and we went one down, but very quickly, we knew we were in for a game. But we expected Sheffield were always going to be a difficult proposition anyway, because they had some very seasoned players there, and good players. But we were quite a good side ourselves, so we were confident. And unfortunately, we had our main goal scorer, Fred. He wasn't fit, and Harry had the decision to make. And he was. Alex Scott used to say to me, "He's a very lucky man. He's a gambler, and his gambles come off."
Wow.
And he brought in Mike Tubilco, who Mike in the Central League reserve team had scored goals. You know, he could finish, and I'm glad he was there that they picked him that day, because he got two good goals.
Got the team back in the game when he did.
Got us back in it, yeah. Because when we went 1-0 down, we were probably still the better team from my perspective, but they didn't really have other chances. We thought we should have had a penalty. Alex Young was brought down, which most times would have been, I think. But anyway, Jack Taylor wasn't a bad referee, so he wasn't up with the play, quite honestly.
He'll go, and here's Young onside, should be the equaliser. No penalty. It's a good decision. He fell right over the goalkeeper.
For the Sheffielders, team and supporters, it was the peak of excitement when David Ford scored Wednesday's second goal.
But then, when we went 2 down, I thought, God, we're going to have to come back next season, because there was a history, I think, for a while of teams losing and going back the following year.
Right.
And I thought, we'll have to
wait another year,
because there weren't many teams that came back from 2-0 down. I think the only one I could recollect around that time was the Matthews final. I think with Blackpool losing 2-0 to Bolton.
They came from behind.
I think they came from 2-0 down and won. Was it 3-2, 4-3?
It was 4-3, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was it. And but then, of course, Mike gets the breakout. Somebody crossed the ball, and I managed to get a head on it and knock it back down, and he smashed it in. And then, of course, Labby is up for a free kick. He nods one back, knocks that in. And, of course, we're in the box seat then. If you come from 2-0 down, suddenly it's a different
You've got
game,
momentum, haven't you?
Yeah, the momentum.
To be trailing by 2 goals in the second half is a most uncomfortable position in a cup final. It would have been understandable if Everton had wilted at this stage. They did exactly the opposite. From now on, they were a team inspired. Mike Trebilcoe beat Springett with a fine shot. Again, it was the 21-year-old Trebilcoe who scored to make it 2-2. Not even a cup final can prevent the Goodison Park spirit invading Wembley. That Bobby ought to be playing at Twickenham.
My goal was I was left winger, but I ended up in the inside right position because you were allowed to move around. Of course, you weren't told to stay wide. And comes back to Joe Royal telling me I was goal scoring forward. I was in that position.
Really into the right place.
Yeah. And Colin Harvey hit a ball out of defence, and I ran towards Jerry Young because he looks like he's going to get a hold of it. And he went to trap it, and he went under his foot. And so I'm running that way. He's facing that way. Just took the ball on. And I was just inside their half, I think. Took it on, and had enough time to look up and see Ron Springett, and he'd come to narrow the angle. And I've always said that if I'd have been Alex Young, I'd have taken it up to him, nutmegged him a couple of times, and then backheeled it in or something. That would have been Alex.
That was Alex's style.
And the other obvious choice was to try and chip him. And I thought I could see afterwards. I realised it was right.
You could look foolish.
I'd have probably hit him in the stomach with this or something. So anyway, as I took the ball on, I get to the edge of the area. It just sat up. It just came off the turf just slightly, and so you get a low volley in really, and. I hit it, and I aimed for that corner. I think he got his fingertips to it, I'm not sure, but anyway, it went in. And there wasn't anything in those days of VAR or anything, any second thoughts.
Goal given,
yeah.
Celebrate.
Yeah, and my first feeling was relief, because I've had a few dinners out on that goal, and I wouldn't have done it for him. Yes,
you'd have been in hiding otherwise.
I'd have had a few shots at me, I think, if I'd have missed it.
Well, it all came good. And a fantastic memory.
Everton buzzing around with much more purpose than they were doing, covering the gaps, making it almost impossible for Wednesday to create space, and now a great chance, a bad mistake by Jerry Young. It's Temple, and it's the third goal. Oh, what a tragedy for Jerry Young. There's Temple. And so Everton fantastically going to the lead. There's no time left. Everton have won. It's 3-2. A sensational cup final has been won by Everton. Fred Pickering, I can see. There's Fred Pickering, the man who was dropped. And Harry Catterick, the manager. What a fantastic comeback by this team. After 57 minutes, Wednesday got a second goal, and Everton were a beaten side. And then in 15 minutes, they came back with 3 tremendous goals, 2 by Dovecote, 1 by Temple, and they've won the cup. And there, Her Royal Highness Princess Margaret with the cup. A great cup final. A fantastic comeback. And the medal for skipper Brian LeBon, and there is the FA Cup. Montgomery has his congratulations. Morton West, Brian Harris, and Ray Wilson, Alex Scott, Alex Young, Jimmy Gabriel, who one moment looked checkered and now way back in the game. So it will be Europe coming to Merseyside with a vengeance next season. Holding the cup, Brian LeBon on the left, Alex Young. And E.I. we've won the cup.
That summer, obviously it was the World Cup as well, but then Everton moved for one of the World Cup stars. Alan Ball came in from Blackpool as Harry Catterick started to try and change the team again. What sort of impact did Alan Ball have?
Alan was, how could I put it, an very emotional person. I've seen him in tears after a game. If we lost, he'd get himself really uptight. Sometimes he'd put you in trouble because he had this habit of taking the mickey out of teams. If we were on top, he'd take the ball into the corner and sit on it. And then he'd give you the ball when he'd wound them all up.
Here, have it.
Yeah,
over to you.
Now. And they'll all come charging to you and going to lift you in there.
No, have it back.
Yeah. That's what he did. Ball. Hell of a player. But very, very emotional.
Yeah.
And but he was. I think he was man of the match in the cup final, the World Cup, wasn't he?
Yeah, a lot of people say
more
that.
or less. A lot of people said that, and he was a tremendous acquisition for the team, and he had some great times at Goodison.
Absolutely. Obviously, your time at Goodison probably came to a close a year or so later, as Howard Kendall came in, and a few months later.
I did hear. I don't know that I was supposed to be part of the deal for
Howard coming from Preston,
but
right.
Ali wanted to keep. Now you see, and the other thing is, some of these, I don't know. Some people that like managers, they must think you're stupid. Honestly, Harry Catterick said he called me over from training and he said, There's somebody wants to have a chat with you. I said, who? He said, Jimmy Mill. So I said, Preston manager. He said, yeah. I said, well, I was playing the fool then. What about? Oh, he's interested in you. So I said, well, I'm not interested. I said, well, I'm happy here. I said, I don't want to go anywhere. No, he said, we don't want to lose you, he said. I said, yeah, honestly, we don't want to lose you. He said, he's come from Preston. We'll have a word with him. I thought, well, that's...
We can see where this is heading, yeah.
Yeah. So, that was my out then.
That was your out.
Yeah.
And obviously you went to Preston and then Wigan, I think you sort of throughout your career.
Where Jimmy Mill was manager of Preston and Gordon Mill his son was player manager of Wigan.
Playing with you at Wigan, yeah, the ex-Liverpool.
Yeah, he was a cracking lad, Gordon. Great idea. He didn't have a clue about defence. And because he was a midfield player and he was always attacking, you know, you wouldn't rely on him to defend, but he was a good footballer, Gordon, and he used to say to us, we had a decent side at Wigan then in the Northern Premier League, which we did win, which was the equivalent of winning this National League now, which is a good league. He used to say, Gordon, he said, now look lads, if they score 3, we'll score 4. This was the way he used to say before the game, all the time. Don't worry, if we lose 1, don't worry, we'll get 2.
So now I know where Roberto Martinez got his ideas from. That was his credo, wasn't it?
Yeah. He was good, Gordon. And we had a useful side. Used to get big gates at
Springfield Park.
Yeah, Springfield Park it was then, yeah.
How was it though, from being at Everton for, more than a decade, to playing at Deepdale and then at with Wigan? Was it a move down for you? Was it hard to adjust to?
It wasn't hard to adjust, but it was like Preston was like a holiday camp compared to Goodison. Mm-hmm. You know, the methods were a little bit antiquated. They hadn't moved with the times. Everton were top, and one of them. You were in the top 6 then, weren't we? You know, we're always related to that Merseyside millionairos. But no, it was the adjustment. But the game was a lot slower in the second division, which it was then, Preston, and. The unfortunate thing is you eventually come down to that yourself because you're not getting stimulated every time you go out to play or train.
Yeah.
And so they had a couple of seasons there. Alan Ball's dad, I was Jimmy Mill, Bobby Seath from Burnley, which managed, Jimmy Mill got the sack. Bobby Seath, he went, and they brought Alan Ball's dad in. And Alan was a nice enough lad. His dad was a very uncouth man.
Okay.
And I thought, I can't play for this fella, you know. Everything was left in this, in that, you know. And I don't think there's a need for that. Yeah. So now I can't. So Gordon came in for me then. To Wigan Mill. So glad to get away.
Okay. So looking back, as we say, your connection to Everton goes back 70 years, and yet you're still going to the game often with your wife Maureen.
Yes.
Through thick and thin, and still a great ambassador for the club, or unofficial ambassador for the club, and a great friend to the Heritage Society, which we appreciate. So clearly, Everton's been a huge chunk of your life, either as a player or as a supporter. You know, what does the club sort of mean to you?
Well, the club means everything. You know, I mean, I want them to. I want them to be like Man City, and I'm a firm believer in what goes round comes round. We'll be there again. but I don't know when. I hope I see it.
So do I. hope we all must see it.
But it takes time. Our son, or one of our sons, lives in Ireland. He comes over, he's got a season ticket. He comes over with our grandson, they're both season ticket holders. And he's very, very critical about certain things.
State of things, at the moment.
I'm more philosophical, but he's...
comes with age.
He gets a bit... well, yes, I think so. Yes. Experience, I hope. But... no, it's no good shouting, is it? What will be, will be. But you can do something about it. And I thought certainly, in more recent times, we're not just getting the rub of the green at the moment. And once that comes, we've got some decent players. And I thought on Sunday we could have picked something up from that game. We just didn't get the rub of the green, and
every team needs that sometimes.
Yeah, it'll come.
And we're in our last season at Goodison. Obviously, the move down to the waterfront's coming. We've touched on some of your Goodison memories, but how do you feel about Goodison Park and also about moving on from it?
Well, I think, the club, the ground is probably past its best. It does need this new venture down there, apparently I've not been anywhere where I could say what it's going to be like, but apparently from what I've heard from people who've been in there, that it's fantastic. And Everton are a big club, they need something like that. They're going through a little bit of a sticky patch with financially at the moment, but they'll come out of that, and I hope that they start to build again. As I say, I think we've got some good players, young players. Unfortunately, we never used to sell good players. We always a buying club, but it's changed. Times change.
Yeah, we just need to rebuild.
Yeah.
Well, Derek, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. You're an Everton icon, an Everton giant, and a great ambassador for our club. So thank you for your time, and
thanks very much, Rob.
See you at Goodison.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.